Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Florence Samaribu. In today's video, I'll be showing us how to draft and pad the shoulder dart, bustier with a sweet hat neck, and also how to join it to the down part of the skirt. In this channel, we make guinea, we do braided wigs, we draft patterns, we do sewing, fashions, DIYs, and a lot more. I really want to appreciate my subscribers. I say thank you all, thank you. I really appreciate your support. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, I say thank you for tuning in, thank you for stopping by, and please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. And for those of us that keeps coming back, one love. Thank you all. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the first thing we need to do right now is to get our base. You can also call that as our shoulder line. So I'm trying to mark out all the horizontal lines. That's the bust line, which is 10.5. Now, the underbust, which is 16. And the waistline, which is 18. I'm repeating it at another point so as to have a straight line. So the next thing to do is to join the points and mark out the lines, the horizontal lines. Next, we get the shoulder. The shoulder is 16. When you divide the 16 by 2, it gives us 8. So I'll be adding 3.5 inches at that point. The shoulder is 16. When you divide 16 by 2, it gives us 8. So I added 3.5 inches at that shoulder point. So at that point, I'll be going down by 1 inch to get our shoulder slant. That's the shoulder slant right there. So to get the armhole, I took 8 inches. That also will be our chest line. You get your straight line, horizontal line around the chest line. We call that as our chest line. So the next is to get the nipple to nipple. The nipple to nipple for this measurement is 8. When you divide 8 by 2, it gives us 4. So I'll be marking out 4.5, half inch for sewing allowance, for holding it together. So you mark it all at those points and have a vertical, and draw out a vertical line. So at the bust line, I went down by half inch. I also went up by half inch. You can see those 2 points right there. Next thing we need to do right now is to create the cup. So what I normally do is to subtract the under bust from bust. So in this case, the bust is 39, the under bust is 31. When you subtract 31 from 39, you have 8. 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. 39 minus 31 gives us 8. 8 divided by 2 gives 4. So we have 4 for creating the curve. So what I do, I take 1.5 from that 4, put it from at the center front, right there. 1.5 at the center front, then the rest on the other side of on the other side. I mark same thing down, 1.5 at the center front, the rest on the other side. So I will go at the shoulder line, at the nipple line that will have the vertical line. I'm taking 1 inch on each side, 1 inch on each side. Now I want to have a straight line to create the curve. Using our French curve, we join the line to meet at the half inch we took down at the bust line. You can see I'm joining it with my French curve at the half inch we took at the bust line. The next is to join the line from the shoulder that we took 1 inch on each side. We join it at the half inch we took at the bust line too. After joining it, we make sure the curve is not sharp. So what I'm trying to do there is to ensure that the curve is not sharp. So I trace it out to have a very nice curve. Next, I want to add the sewing allowance for this. For the blouse, that's the sewing allowance and joining allowance. I added 1 inch right there. The next thing we need to do right now is to impute our measurements. The bust is 39. 39 divided by 4 gives us 9.75 or 9.75. So at that point, I'll be adding 2.5 because we didn't take out anything at the bust. If you watch, we are not taking out, there's nothing to replace at the bust. So I'll be marking same thing at the chest line, that's at the armhole line. I'll be marking out 9.75, same thing. That is adding 2.5 inches also at that point. Adding 2.5 inches at that point too. So the next we'll go to the underbust. The underbust is 31. 31 divided by 4 gives us 7.75 or 7.75. So if with the 4 inches we are going to cut out at that point, we replace it. I will be adding that 4 inches back, then add my sewing allowance, which is 2.5. I'll be doing the same thing at the waistline. The waist is 32. 32 divided by 4 gives us 8. I'm replacing the 4 inches we are going to cut out, then add the sewing allowance, which is 2.5 inches. So after getting that right now, I want to mark out my armhole. So what I'm trying to do is to square up the armhole. I check the total measurement I got at the shoulder line and mark it out at the chest line also, so as to have a straight line. So after getting a straight line, I'll be getting the half of the line, which is 4, going in by ½ inch. So after getting the armhole, I'll be joining it using my French curve to cover the armhole line. So at this point, I'll be joining all the points. So I will not be cutting out the shoulder slant. I will not be cutting out the shoulder slant. I will still leave it right there. So I will cut out the pattern. So we're done with the front. Just cutting it out right now. So that's the pattern right there. That's for the front. Next, we'll go to the back. We'll have a straight line, which is a zip allowance, 1.5. Now I marked out the shoulder line or the baseline where we start, the starting point. We also call that the shoulder line. I'll be marking out the bust line, doing same thing, getting 2 points to ensure us to have a straight line. I get the under bust line, which is 16. I get my waistline, which is 18. Then I join the points to have my horizontal lines. Next, we'll get our shoulder, which is 16. 16 divided by 2 gives us 8. I will just be adding the ½ inch. This time around, I will be adding the only ½ inch. Go down by 1 inch to get our shoulder slant. Next, we'll go to the neckline. To have our neck width, I took 3 inches. And the neck depth, I took 1.5 inch. Using the French curve, join the points to have a very good curve at the neck. The next thing to do right now is to join the shoulder slant to the neck width. At that point, I'll be having the armhole line or the chest line, which is 8 inches. I'm just trying to square it up so as to be able to have a straight line right there. The next is to input our measurement 39 at the bust line. So I'm waiting back to have my chest line so as to enable me to input the same measurement I have at the bust. So 39 divided by 4 gives us 9 3/4 or 9.75. Add 2 inches for sewing allowance. So I go to the under bust to take my measurement, which is 31 divided by 4 gives us 7.75. Go to add 2 inches for sewing. Go to the waistline. At the waistline too, we got 32 divided by 4 gives us 8. Add 2 inches for sewing. So at this point, I'm going to get the dart at the back. So I'll be using my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8. 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. So I'm just marking out the 4. So I'm just marking out the 4 inches, which half inch also for sewing, which is 4.5. So at this point, I'm marking out the length of the dart. You can from waist go up by 6 inches or 6.5. That way you get your dart, or you go down at the bust line, you go down by 1 inch. Either way works. So at that point, I'll be taking half inch on both sides at that line. So I'll be joining the line to meet at the 6 inches I took up to create my dart line. So at this point, I'll be joining the points. So I'll be adding my allowance, sewing allowance down, which is 1 inch. Then joining it to have a straight line right there. So the next thing is to join the armhole, join the curves together. Now I'll be cutting it out. That's it. So I've cut out the breast part I'll be using for this blouse. You can see it's the lace. I've already cut out the lining also. The satin I'm using to cover up the lace. So at this point, you cover up the whole center front of the blouse with the breast pad. Cover everything up. So at the breast bust line, you go up by 4 inches and you stop at the under bust while cutting it. So you cut exact measurement of on the breast part. You don't put any allowance on it. You cut the exact measurement on the breast part. No allowance, no sewing allowance for the breast part. Just cut out the exact measurement. So I've cut out the lining also. That's the lining right there. So I've joined the blouse. This is what it's looking at. Why I took 3.5 inches at the shoulder line when we are cutting the front. This is why I took 3.5 inches. So that you eliminate anything that will make the blouse, the shoulder to be short. You can see it is falling back at that 16 that we were supposed to have and we have our 1/2 inch for sewing. So that's why it's better to have excess than running short. So that's why I took 3.5, so that I'm not gonna be short at the when I want to cut out the neckline. Now we want to cut out the sweet hat neck. So at the neck width, I took 3 inches. The neck depth, I'll be taking 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches. I have to cut it at the front so that you really understand what how so that you really understand and see it clearly what I'm doing. So at that 3.5 inches that I took at the neck width, I'll be going down by 4 inches. I went down by 4 inches. I took 5 inches at the center front right there. And at the 3 inches I took as the neck width, I went down by 4 inches. You can see the way it's going right there. At that, I took 3 inches at that neck. So at this point, I will not be taking 3 inches, I'll be taking 4 inches. It's not supposed to be straight. The sweetheart neck is not supposed to be straight. So it's gonna be something slant like that. You can see it. Then I'll be joining it. From there, I'll join to the 5 inches I took. You can see the way the shape is. So at this point, I'll be going down by the 1 inch for the shoulder slant. Take it right there, cut it out, and join to the neck width. So you cut it out, cut out the shoulder slant out. Next is to cut out the sweetheart neck. You gotta be careful when you're cutting it out so you don't cut your work that you've done. So I've joined it, put the part, put the lining. That's how it's looking like. That is it right there. So I've joined the whole blouse. You can see it. That's the style. I've joined it to the down part of the skirt. That is the style right there. That is it. It's beautiful. So now you see the neckline. Thank you.